Heard them in cars with the windows down, in films that changed how you saw the world, at moments you can still name. But the stories behind how they got made, stranger, darker, and more human than anything on the radio. Let's go.
Side by side. I said, hey, come on.
Number 10, Hello, I Love You. Jim Morrison called it a dumb little song. Those were his words exactly. Just a dumb little song I wrote out in Venice one day when I saw this girl walk by. He'd scribbled it in 1965, before the Doors even had a name, before they had a lineup, and then he buried it. So did the rest of the band. When producer Paul Rothchild asked if they had anything they thought wasn't worthy of their dignity, John Densmore brought up the title. Morrison visibly cringed, and then Rothchild heard it. That's a #1 record, he have to understand. By early 1968, the Doors were deep into their third album, Waiting for the Sun, and they had almost nothing to show for it. Morrison was showing up late, or not at all. The extended suite they'd built the whole album around had collapsed in the studio. Elektra Records was pushing hard. So the band dug into old demos from 1965 and pulled out the song Morrison had written about watching a girl walk down the beach and being too nervous to speak. The Doors strongly objected to releasing it. It wasn't who they were anymore. It was beneath everything. They'd be #1 in the United States on August 3, 1968. Their first #1 UK chart entry at number 15, Waiting for the Sun, became the only Doors album to top the Billboard 200. Morrison later said in a 1968 interview, "Sure, it isn't one of our best songs. He wasn't wrong, and none of that matters, because you don't always get to decide which version of yourself the world holds on to. Sometimes it's the beach scrap from 1965 that the whole band tried to leave in a drawer. And if you've ever made something almost by accident that became the thing people use to define you, you already know exactly how complicated that is." Number 9, Piece of My Heart, Big Brother and the Holding Company. Here's what most people don't know. The song most associated with Janis Joplin was already a hit for someone else before she ever touched it. Piece of My Heart was written by Jerry Ragovoy and Bert Burns and first recorded in 1967 by Irma Franklin, Aretha's elder sister, a voice that could fill a room from the back corner. Irma took it to number 10 on the R&B charts. Billboard called it dynamite. Nominated for a Grammy, her song, Then in March 1968, Jack Cassidy of Jefferson Airplane came to a Big Brother rehearsal on their East Coast tour and played it for the room. "I think you guys could do something with this." Janis heard it. She locked in immediately. Big Brother's version hit number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100 off the Cheap Thrills album. But chart positions don't capture what that recording did to people who heard it. That opening, that voice, that feeling of someone dragging something true into the light at full volume. Now here's the part I keep coming back to. The co-writer, Bert Burns, he died of a heart attack on December 30th, 1967. He never heard what Janis did with his song. He died before the record came out, before the scream, before any of it. But each time I tell myself that I can't stand the pain. And Irma Franklin, when she first heard the Big Brother version on the radio, she didn't recognize it. The vocal arrangement was so completely different that she sat there listening to her own song and couldn't place it. Had to wait for the DJ to read the title. A woman listening to a stranger sing her song back to her and not hearing herself at all. That's not erasure, that's transformation. The distance between those two versions of the same 4 minutes is the distance between two eras entirely. Real talk, only 9% of you are subscribed. That hurts. We're spending hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life. And if you're watching this far, you clearly care. So hit subscribe. It's free and takes 2 seconds. Now, to my subscribers, barely any of you have joined the membership. And honestly, that stings even more. You know the work we put in. You keep coming back. If these videos have ever made you feel something, if this music means something to you, join the membership. It's $1 coffee a month, and it's the only way we keep this going. Let's build this together. All right, back to it. Number 8, The Weight, the band. You probably know the opening without thinking about it. Take a load off, Fanny. Put the load right on me. You've known it so long it lives below memory. This entry is for the story underneath it. Young Anna Lee, he said to do me a favor. Robbie Robertson was sitting with his 1951 Martin D28 guitar when he looked inside the instrument and read the manufacturer's stamp, Nazareth, Pennsylvania, where Martin guitars are made. He stared at it, and the first line of The Weight started right there. I pulled into Nazareth. For free. Music from Big Pink came out July 1, 1968, right in the middle of the psychedelic peak. Cream was deafening. Hendrix was rewriting what a guitar could do, everyone reaching for the ceiling. And the band went the opposite direction entirely. Picked up my bags and went looking for a place to hide. No studio tricks, no overdriven amps. 5 musicians playing like it was a Sunday afternoon far from any city, anywhere. The album sounded like it came from a different century. The Weight peaked at number 63 on the Billboard Hot 100. 63, not a commercial hit by any reasonable standard. And here's the part that stops me cold every time. Eric Clapton heard music from Big Pink and started making plans to disband Cream. He heard what the band was doing with restraint and space and decided that everything Cream was doing suddenly felt wrong. He wanted something different, something quieter, something that breathed. The song that didn't crack the top 40 changed what the people at the top of the charts decided to do next. If you've ever loved a song that nobody around you seemed to know, if you've ever felt certain something mattered before the world caught up, you know what the band were doing in the summer of 1968. The charts weren't listening. History was. I pulled into Nazareth, just feeling about half-assed. Number 7, Mrs. Robinson, Simon and Garfunkel. Son, heaven knows a place for those who pray. The version of Mrs. Robinson that plays in The Graduate is a sketch, an unfinished fragment. Paul Simon didn't even have a full song yet. Hey, hey, hey. Director Mike Nichols came to Simon and Garfunkel needing something new for the film. Simon submitted 2 songs. Nichols rejected both. Then Simon showed him a scrap he'd been working on, something incomplete, uncertain, not sure it would become anything. Nichols loved it immediately. In your pantry with your cupcakes. Here's the detail most people don't know. The song was originally called Mrs. Roosevelt. Paul Simon had been thinking about Eleanor Roosevelt, about a world that no longer produced that kind of moral authority, that kind of hero, when he wrote the central idea. Art Garfunkel pointed out that Roosevelt and Robinson had the same number of syllables, so Mike Nichols got his movie song. And the song that nearly became about Eleanor Roosevelt became one of the most played songs of the decade instead, because 2 words sounded the same in the right place. Son, Jesus loves you more than you will know. Simon didn't finish writing and recording the complete version until after The Graduate had already become a cultural phenomenon. The film was already rewriting how a generation thought about America before the full song even existed. Mrs. Robinson reached number 1 in the United States. Sitting on a sofa on a Sunday afternoon. At the 1969 Grammy Awards, it became the first rock and roll song ever to win Record of the Year. And Joe DiMaggio, who ran into Paul Simon at a restaurant, was not happy about being in the lyrics. You swap in a name because the syllables match. You finish the song after the film it's supposed to be in is already a hit, and somehow that's the one that wins the Grammy.
We'd like to know a little bit about you for our file.
Number 6, White Room. Cream. White Room opens Wheels of Fire, the first platinum-certified double album in rock history and their most commercially successful record. The album that should have been Cream's greatest triumph, and they had already decided to break up. By the summer of 1968, weeks after the album's release, Cream announced they were done. The touring had been relentless and deafening. Ginger Baker would later say the final year permanently damaged his hearing. The combustible relationship between Baker and Bruce had been a live wire from the start, and Clapton had spent 2 years playing peacekeeper until he simply ran out of energy for it. Clapton tells a story about a concert near the end. He stopped playing mid-set, just stopped, lowered the guitar and waited. Neither Baker nor Bruce noticed. Both kept going. Clapton came back in. Nobody said a word. That's where the band was. Part of what pushed him toward the exit was a scathing Rolling Stone review calling him a master of the blues cliché. And part of it was hearing music from Big Pink. And if you've been paying attention to this list, you already know which record that is. He heard what the band were doing with restraint and space and decided everything Cream was doing felt suddenly wrong. They disbanded in November 1968. 2 farewell shows at London's Royal Albert Hall, November 25th and 26th. Both sold out, both filmed. White Room in the set list. Jack Bruce died in 2014. Ginger Baker in 2019. Clapton is the last one. And when you go back to those opening chords now, the wah-wah rolling in like a tide before you're ready, you hear what was ending before it was over. Number 5, Jumpin' Jack Flash. The Rolling Stones. Bill Wyman showed up early to rehearsal. Brian Jones came in too. Then Charlie Watts. No Mick, no Keith. Just 3 of them, nothing to do. So Wyman sat at the piano and started messing around. A riff. Da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. Jones picked it up on guitar. Watts laid a beat underneath. By the time Jagger and Richards finally walked in, something was already alive in the room. Richards, "Hey, that sounds really good. Keep going." By the next day, they had the song, and Bill Wyman, the man who played the riff that started everything, received no songwriting credit. None. It's been a point of quiet contention ever since. Jumpin' Jack Flash was released May 24th, 1968, number 1 in the UK, number 3 in the United States. The Stones returning to raw, dangerous rock after a year of psychedelic detours. Jagger called it about having a hard time and getting out, a metaphor for leaving all the acid stuff behind. The name came from Keith Richards' gardener, Jack Dyer. The sound of his boots on gravel outside the window woke Jagger up one morning. "What's that?" Richards. "Oh, that's Jack. That's Jumpin' Jack." Jagger said Flash. Something clicked. And here's the technical detail that permanently changes how you hear that riff. Those overdriven guitars, recorded on acoustic instruments running through a Philips cassette player, cranked until they distorted. Not a Marshall stack, a cassette recorder. Richards chasing a sound he couldn't get any other way. Over 1,200 live performances since 1968. Every single tour, no exceptions. The most performed song the Stones have ever owned. a gardener's footsteps, an accidental piano riff that went uncredited, and a cassette recorder doing what amplifiers couldn't. Number 4, Born to Be Wild. Steppenwolf, Mars Bonfire, originally wrote this as a ballad. Slow, reflective, almost gentle, not remotely what you're picturing. He was driving through the mountains outside Los Angeles when a thunderstorm rolled in and forced him off the road. He sat there listening to the thunder shake everything around him. The phrase heavy metal thunder came to him. He scribbled it down immediately. He was thinking about motorcycles, about the sound a Harley makes at full throttle on an open highway. He was not thinking about music genres. His brother Jerry was the drummer in Steppenwolf. Mars offered the song to other bands first. No one took it. Steppenwolf sped it up, hardened every edge, and turned it into something else entirely. The song hit number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the summer of 1968, held from the top spot by People Got to Be Free by the Rascals for 3 straight weeks, number 1 in Canada. And then, those 2 words, heavy metal. Rock writers latched onto the phrase and attached it to the full volume, maximum density sound that was beginning to emerge. Sabbath, Deep Purple, Priest, and a genre had its name.
And whatever comes our way.
From a thunderstorm on a mountain road, from a man who was writing about motorcycles, not music. Peter Fonda originally wanted Crosby, Stills, and Nash to score Easy Rider. Born to Be Wild was just a placeholder in the rough cut. Nobody replaced it. The film came out, the song stopped being a placeholder and started being permanent. Some of y'all heard this song for the first time in a movie before you ever heard it on a record. You know which movie, and once you heard it there, nothing else would have fit. Number 3, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, Otis Redding.
Gonna come my way, so I'm just gonna stay.
Otis Redding was staying on a houseboat in Sausalito in the summer of 1967. Bill Graham, who ran the Fillmore, had offered it to him as a refuge from the hotel crowds that followed him after Monterey Pop. And sitting out there, watching the ships move through the bay, watching them come in and roll away again, Otis started writing.
On the dock of the bay, watching the tide.
He kept writing on napkins, on hotel paper, through the rest of the tour. In November 1967, he went into Stax Studios in Memphis with Steve Cropper and finished the recording.
Here resting my bones in this long.
3 days after the final session, December 10th, 1967, the plane carrying Otis and members of the Bar-Kays went down into Lake Monona, Wisconsin. He was 26 years old. Steve Cropper mixed the record alone. He did it before Otis's body had been recovered from the water.
I can't do what 10 people tell me to do.
The whistling you hear at the end, that unhurried, almost drowsy sound, Otis was goofing around. He planned to go back and record real lyrics there. He never got the chance. Cropper left the whistling in, added ocean waves and seagulls, the sounds Otis had told him he loved from the houseboat, released it as it was.
I roll away.
January 8th, 1968. Hit number 1 in March. The first posthumous number 1 single in American chart history, Otis Redding's biggest commercial success. The song he never heard on the radio. The song he never knew was a hit. 26. Just let that sit for a second. The version he never got to finish became the one nobody could forget. Number 2, All Along the Watchtower, Jimi Hendrix. Bob Dylan recorded the original in 1967. Sparse, acoustic, barely 2.5 minutes. A piece of folklore. By January 1968, Hendrix had gotten an advance tape of those recordings. He listened once, and by January 21st, he was at Olympic Studios in London, rebuilding it from scratch. Here's what happened in that room. Noel Redding, Hendrix's bassist, grew frustrated with the session and walked out. Dave Mason of Traffic took over on bass. Mason eventually left too. Hendrix played the final bass part himself. Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones was there, and he tried to add percussion. A vibra-slap. 21 takes in, you could still hear it on the tape. Clang, clang, clang. Off the beat. Out of time. They thanked him warmly and moved on. Hendrix worked out every passage of the solo in advance, then went back in with a Gibson Flying V. He also used a Zippo lighter, a beer bottle, and a ring as slide instruments, trying to find textures no one had found before. He kept saying he heard it differently. He kept going back in. Released September 21st, 1968. Number 20 in the United States. Number 5 in the UK. The first stereo-only UK single to ever chart that high. And then Dylan heard it. Dylan said it overwhelmed him. That Hendrix found things inside the song that Dylan hadn't known were there. And ever since Hendrix died, 1970, Dylan has played the song the Hendrix way, as a tribute. The original songwriter performing a cover version of his own song every night for over 50 years. Total Guitar named it the greatest cover version ever recorded. I think that's right, and I know some people feel very strongly otherwise. You probably have an opinion. Number 1. Hey Jude, the Beatles. June 1968. John Lennon has just left Cynthia, his wife, for Yoko Ono. They have a 5-year-old son named Julian. Paul McCartney, who'd known Cynthia since school, who Julian called Uncle Paul, got in his car and drove to Weybridge to check on them.
Hey Jude, don't make it bad.
On that drive, he started writing. He called it Hey Jules, a comfort song for a small boy navigating his parents coming apart. Don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better. He planned to change the name. He didn't. Here's the moment I keep returning to. McCartney was playing it through for Lennon and Yoko in the music room at his house when he reached the line, "The movement you need is on your shoulder," and immediately turned around and said, "I'll change that. It's a bit weak." And John looked at him and said, "You won't, you know." That's the best line in the song. McCartney has said that since Lennon died, every time he sings that line live, leading 60,000 people in the na-na-nas, he thinks of that exact moment in that room. He has been carrying that conversation in every stadium, every continent, for over 40 years. Hey Jude was recorded at Trident Studios in London in July and August of 1968 with a 36-piece orchestra, first single on Apple Records. At over 7 minutes, the longest single to top the UK charts at that time. 9 weeks at number 1 in the United States, tying the all-time record in 1968.
And anytime you feel the pain,
And John Lennon thought the song was about him, about being encouraged to leave Cynthia and pursue Yoko. He said later, "I always heard it as a song to me." He never knew Paul had written it for his son. Julian Lennon didn't learn the truth until 1987. He ran into Paul at a hotel. That was the first time anyone actually told him.
the